All right.
Okay.
Go for it, Chua.
Okay, come, let's start. So last week we have covered almost all the thing. Okay, we didn't cluster the cluster with the multiple cluster scenario, chases, rack. Actually, we have covered a little bit about the site failure, but site failure we have quite a lot of topic. So today's site failure we will talk about the Azure site recovery. Okay, so before that, just take a recap. So what we actually talked over the last 2 or 3 weeks already. I think 2 weeks, right? Yeah, 2 weeks. Okay, so within the nodes, I think everyone understand already. Yeah. So it could be something like this failure, okay, or catch this failure, or maybe some of the part within the server itself. Okay. Then within the cluster. So as long as one of the node or one of the servers within the cluster fail, then that could be the within cluster failure. Then cluster failure. Then if you have multiple cluster, one of the cluster fail, like this is considered cluster failure. Then what we talk about is like we need the VM replica or cluster set to actually help you to in case of the disaster recovery. Yeah, so you need this kind of technology. Then chassis failure. Okay, can be the power, can be a network controller, can be a TOR switch failure, and also one of it is the backplane, backplane failure. Actually, I didn't write in. I will add in to this slide. Backplane failure to the chassis, it could cause the chassis failure. So this is the example, like the chassis fail, then the VM will fail over to the remaining chassis. Then we have this rack failure. So it can be the power rack power failure, or it can be the TOR switch, it can be the network point, which point to the rack, or any nodes in the rack fail, which you can categorize as a rack failure. Okay, so when the time you encounter this one, so you need to make sure that the VM can can fail over to other rack. Okay, so today we will talk about this one, site recovery, Azure site recovery. So this is categorized under the site failure. Okay, before that, let's take a look about this one. I have a video.
You hate outages. They're probably your worst nightmare. Today, IT executives will only be able to find peace of mind if there's a disaster recovery solution that manages outages, prevents downtime, and helps them maintain compliance. But there's a problem. Traditional disaster recovery solutions are often piecemeal and require owning or leasing a secondary site, which comes with a large price tag and unnecessary administrative overhead. It doesn't have to be this way. Azure Site Recovery is a built-in disaster recovery solution. It orchestrates and manages DR for your Azure virtual machines, on-premises virtual machines, or physical servers. Because we understand DR is of critical importance, it needs to be simple and cost-effective. With Azure Site Recovery, there is no need to purchase additional hardware or hire more IT personnel for disaster recovery. Only pay for the compute resources you spin up in Azure in the event of a DR drill or a real disaster. With Azure Site Recovery, you can painlessly replicate your applications and data to a different Azure region, all from the Azure portal. You can also arrange the right failover sequence for your complex applications, such as SAP and SharePoint, with a single click using recovery plans. Azure Site Recovery makes managing your compliance drills oh so easy. Test your disaster recovery plans without impacting end users. Perform DR drills as many times as you want without affecting your production applications. Worried about scaling? Don't be. Azure Site Recovery can be scaled to as many applications as needed. With best-in-class recovery point objective, your data loss in case of a disaster will be as low as a few seconds to single-digit minutes. Also, with best-in-class recovery time objective, it takes as low as 30 minutes to complete a recovery of complex applications such as SAP and SharePoint. Reduce cost, complexity, and recovery time. Breathe easy with Azure Site Recovery.
Okay, So this is about the introduction of the Azure Site Recovery. So to let you have some idea about what is this, okay? So of course, so yeah. So we come to the first slide. What is the Azure Site Recovery? Okay. So as an organization, you need to have adopt business continuity or disaster recovery. We call it BCDR, okay, which can help you to keep your data safe and the workload available, okay. So because of this BCDR requirement, so Azure Site Recovery can help you actually achieve what you want. And Azure Site Recovery contribute to your BCDR strategy with two kind of types. The first is a site recovery services. The second is a backup service. No? So today we are more focused on this site recovery service, not the backup. So backup is just to make sure that you keep your data safe. You have a one copy, you keep it either offline or online, and make sure that it can recover. But site recovery is a bit different. It actually replicate your data to the cloud, and then it will have to make sure that you can recover the data in a short time. Okay, so and also it makes sure that the other site the ready infrastructure to actually help you to recover your data. This is the main differences. Backup is like a backup, but when the time you have some problem, right, it will take some time. It could be like you have to order again the hardware, right? It's going to take some time for you to recover. But site recovery is to actually help you to recover in a short time with all the ready infrastructure. Okay, so for the Azure Site Recovery, we have 4 scenarios, which is considered a supported scenario. The first is the Azure VM. The second is a Hyper-V VM. You replicate to the Azure and recover at the Azure site. The third one is a physical server or VMware VM to the Azure site. The fourth is the Hyper-V VM. It recover to the secondary site. Let's talk about the first one, Azure VM. So we have one Azure VM at a single location, okay, in the one region. But you have to make sure that if anything wrong to this region, so you must make sure that another region can support you, right? So site recovery is one of the solution for you. It helps you to replicate the VM from this region to another region. So in case this region got any problem, so the other region can actually still help you. You may say that it should be safe, right? Even I'm in the single region, like all my data in the Singapore, but in Singapore, I think at least have a 3 data center at the Singapore site, so it won't be down. But recently, actually got some problem due to the part shortage and the supplies problem. The Singapore's Azure data center actually fully loaded, and then they already order those servers to expand, but due to the supply chain problem, it cannot reach on time. The ETA, I think, more than 6 months. So with this kind of problem, then this can bring the disaster to you, right? So if you have actually already well prepared, buy the insurance, but like this site recovery services before that, in case of you met a disaster, then it can help you. Then the second one, Hyper-V VM to the Azure. I think this is the most common scenario we see. Hyper-V VM to the Azure. So with the Hyper-V VM, it's actually get ready. Everything is well ready. You just need to configure a little bit. Then we can help use the Hyper-V VM replication, the method, to replicate the VMs to the Azure with the site recovery's help. Then the third one, other than Hyper-V VM on premise, we also have the Vmware or physical servers. How can I actually leverage this kind of the infra to replicate to the Azure? Is supported. So almost the same scenario like the second one, but it requires a little bit more components. Later I will explain. The fourth is from the one Hyper-V on-premise replicate to another Hyper-V site. Okay, so it's like on-premise to on-premise, but it use the site recovery to do the orchestration. No, but unfortunately, I get the news say that this fault scenario, no, will be no longer supported after the February 2023 next year. No, so remember this fault scenario will not be supported soon. Okay. So advantages of Azure site recovery. So what is actually the strong point for Azure site recovery compared to other solutions? Yeah. The first thing I think for those who heard before, this is I think most of you will agree, cost effective. Because you're thinking that to configure or to have the disaster recovery plan is not cheap at all, because like you need to traditional way, you need to have a data center as a disaster recovery site, right? And then you need to buy a lot of infrastructure like servers, or maybe you can rent those virtual machine, but it's not cheap also, right? But with the Azure site recovery, you doesn't require all these things. What you need from the Microsoft is just a Azure recovery vault, vault and the virtual network and the storage account. And then this vault, of course, include the instances, like how many VM you want to replicate. So at the initial investment, you only need to pay for this thing. Then you can start to use it. So that's why I say that cost effective. Until really you need to perform the disaster recovery or test failover, then only you purchase or for the temporary, you get the virtual machine. That time only you start to charge you for those virtual machine infrastructure. So other than the cost effective, I can say that the second one is the ease of deployment. So the deployment is very easy. Everything step by step guided for you. Later I have the demo, and then you take a look. Then I think you will agree on this one. Okay. Then the third one is the dependable failover and recovery. So with the Azure site recovery, it comes with the ready features for you to do the replication, okay, and also to do the failover and even the test failover. And after you're done, you can still fail back all the data back to your original place, the original on-premise infrastructure. And the accessibility is very easy for you to actually access to this infrastructure. Is cloud-based, right? What you need is just the portal and the browser. You can access to the portal, then you can start to use. And it meet the compliance. The Azure site recovery, it allow you to easily comply with the industry regulation, such as some ISO 27001. So I think these are some of the advantages for the Azure site recovery. Okay, so let's look at the first one, the first scenario, Hyper-V VM to the Azure. And I believe, like what I say, this is the most common scenario. So before we start the demo, let's take a look on this architecture. So this is the on-premise site, okay? And then we have the VM. The VM actually running on top of the Hyper-V. And because of on top of Hyper-V, the Hyper-V already have the get ready with those infrastructure. So you doesn't require any other extra servers. So what you need to do is like at the cloud there, you need 3 things: Azure storage, Azure recovery vault, and the virtual machine. With these 3 components, you can start to do the replication. Replicate your VM just like VM replication. Like what I mentioned before, VM replication from the on-premise to the cloud. Okay, so the required component, like what I say, of course you need the Azure subscription, storage account, virtual network, and the vault. And then of course you need a Hyper-V server and then the VM. The server is to host the VM. and the VM is the actually as the source for you to replicate to the cloud. Okay, so let's understand the process flow. The first thing you need to do is you have to create the Azure storage account and the virtual network, and this actually will incur some little bit charges. What you need to pay is just to pay the storage account and the virtual network. And this storage account is actually depends on how big your data size needed. All your data actually stored into this storage account. After that, then you need to create the Azure Site Recovery Board. Okay, this is the place. Actually, I can say that is the software. This is the software at the cloud there for you to actually initiate the DR. And you need to prepare the infrastructure to make a handshake with the Azure Site Recovery Board. And this part also incur little bit charges. Once you have these two, then you can start to do the replication. And during the replication, actually replication doesn't charge anything. What you need to pay is just the first two part thing, the charges. Then until you need to do the test failover, or maybe is the real DR, then that time only incur the charges. So that's why I say that it's a cost effective, this solution. Initially, you are paying very little, and until needed, then only you pay for this one. Unlike the traditional disaster recovery solution, which at the beginning, even not come to the test failover or real DR, you already need to pay for this. Okay, so let's take a look how we can actually use the Azure portal to create a storage account. This is the first step. Okay, from the Azure portal, we click this storage account and create a storage account. Choose the subscription. Okay, and then create a resource group. Then key in the storage account name. So key in something which is related to your project, okay, or something meaningful. And then choose the region where you want to place this storage account at. And then this is the okay. Then this is the performance for the storage account. Do you need the premium or standard one? No. But for the Azure Site Recovery, I will just urge that just to use the standard will do. And then the redundancy. The redundancy is the place where you want it to be this storage account to be replicated to other region or not. So if just the LRS, then it will be within the single region. Okay. The next is the advanced. So for this advanced, actually nothing much. It's just the access tier. I will choose to cool storage. Okay. Then come to the data protection. I will just click next. And then for this part, I will disable those soft retention features. I doesn't need that. Okay. Then come to the encryption next. The tagging. Also, I have nothing to do the tagging. I just continue to create the storage account. So just within few minutes, you can get the storage account ready. Okay. So once you have the storage account ready, then we need to create a virtual network. This virtual network is something which worth for you to think how you should plan your virtual network at the disaster site. So in this case, I will create actually everything same as the on-premise. Okay, so that means your on-premise server is like, let's say your network is 192.168.0 or something. Then at the cloud there also the same. Later I will come to a section to discuss about this network planning. Let's take a look how to create this virtual network. So from the Azure, we come to the create virtual network. Also the same thing, choose the subscription, the resource group. I will recommend always put the same project under the same resource group. Don't separate it. And then come to the name of the instance. Okay, then here is the place for you to specify the address. Okay, so then come to create a subnet. So this subnet will be exactly same like my source server. Okay, Once done, come to the security part. So if nothing to do, then normally that doesn't require any specific thing. So I just need to create a virtual network. Okay, so also very easy to create a virtual network. So after the virtual network done, then is the third part. We create the Azure Site Recovery Board and prepare the infrastructure. So let's take a look. So in the Azure portal, right, you search for site recovery services. Then you see this recovery services board. You click in, then this is the recovery services board. Then you click create. Okay, then almost the same, right? You have all the beginning one, the first step, you have to choose the subscription, then the resource group, then the name, almost the same thing, right? Then come to the region. So region should be always placed at the same one with your storage, right? Then after that, just create. Very, very straightforward. This recovery service board is just like it's a software, but when the time you create, you replicate how many VM, then it's based on the VM instance to charge you. Okay, the next thing, once done, we go into this recovery services board. Then we come to the getting started and choose for the site recovery. So under this site recovery, we can have a few scenarios to choose. So the first one, Azure virtual machine, VMware machine to the Azure, or the third one is the Hyper-V machine to the Azure. So the physical machine actually categorized same as this VMware machine. Right? So for this scenario, we will choose the Hyper-V machine to the Azure. Okay, so we have step 1, step 2, step 3, like what I say, is a guided, step-by-step guided. So we come to the step 1, prepare infrastructure. So it will ask you whether do you completed the planning. Okay, this you see, deployment planning completed. So this is a place where you can download this deployment planner. And what this deployment planner can help you, it can help you to estimate the network bandwidth, the storage, and the other requirement. Like a lot of time, maybe your customer will ask, how much bandwidth I need for the Azure site recovery. You can leverage on this deployment panel to actually estimate the network bandwidth. Okay, so for this case, I will do it later. And then it will ask you, your Hyper-V environment have the VMN? I don't have. Okay, I choose no. And then come to the add Hyper-V site. So I will just create a name for the site. Okay, this is site 1, then called CB. Then I will have to add the Hyper-V server. Then to add the Hyper-V server, it also come out the step-by-step guidance for you. So you have to make sure that all your VM, the Hyper-V host is running on the 2012R2 and above. And then your proxy, if you have a proxy setting, and then make sure that can access to those service URL or IP. If you click the link, then it will show all those requires URL for you. Then the next, you have to download the installer. This is the thing which we need to do. I will have to download this installer, and then to download the registration key. So 2 things I need to download. First, I download this, the Azure Site Recovery Provider. Okay, then followed by this registration key. Okay, so once download completed, I go to the Hyper-V server. My Hyper-V is the Azure Site is the Azure Stack HCI, and is a 2-node Azure Stack HCI. So because this is the 2-node, I need to actually install one by one into my node. So I add a node 1. So I will install this site recovery provider. So very straightforward, you see, just 2-step install. After install, you need to register. The registration is based on the registration key which I downloaded just now. So I go to the path to find the registration key, click next. Okay, and my environment don't have any proxy server. I just click next. Then that's all done for the node 1. So I have to switch to the node 2. Do the same thing. Install the site recovery provider. Okay, so after done, I already cut short. This I already cut short. I install the registration key already. And after done, we will start to do the enable replication. So let's take a look. So in this Azure Stack HCI, I have one VM, which is called VM1, VM-1. And this VM-1, I'm going to replicate to the cloud. Now I go back to the site recovery. I choose the second, enable replication. So I choose, now you see here, right now I can start to see the source, like the site which I created just now. And then from here, I specify the storage account, then virtual machine selection. You see here, it will auto detect whatever you have in your on-premise Hyper-V's VM. It will auto detect it. And just now here, once I choose this one, I click next, right? Then it will need me to specify the OS type, the disk, and the disk to be replicated. So if your disk, you have a CDE, you can have an option not to replicate everything. You can choose which disk you want to replicate. Okay, so I just configure this Windows, and this is the OS disk for the VM1. Okay, then in this case, because I have only one disk, so I just click next. And then this is the replication policy, which I actually created just now. Okay, I didn't record the policy creation. But anyway, it's very simple. After that, I just click enable replication. Then here you can see that my Hyper-V is actually sending the initial replica. And from here, you can see that the primary server, my primary server, this is CB not 2. Okay, and then the replica server is the Azure. This is something very, very similar like Hyper-V VM replication. But compared to Hyper-V VM replication, now the target is not the Hyper-V, but it's the cloud. So once done, the sending initial replication completed, then actually your data is actually have a copy at the cloud already. So once done, let's take a look. We can before that, okay, now just now I saw the enable replication is through the Azure portal, but we also can have the option to enable the replication using the Windows Admin Center. So let's take a look and compare. So if using the Windows Admin Center, the first thing you have to make sure that your Windows Admin Center registered to the Azure portal, to the Azure cloud, sorry. So we choose the Azure Global, and then you have to copy this code and paste into the Microsoft site. Okay, then key in your credential. Okay, then the password. Because I have an MFA for my account, so you will see this one. So once I approve it, okay, so it asks me to continue. So I can close these windows. Then next thing, I have to connect, choose the Azure Active Directory, and then start to connect. Sign in, and then once completed this, my Windows Admin Center actually connected to the Azure cloud with the tenant account. Then I start to connect to the Azure Stack HCI. Then go to the virtual machine. Okay, look for the VM, click it, and then after that go to the manage. Okay, from here you have the option replicate using the Azure Site Recovery. So because we have already prepared the infrastructure, so you can see that the storage account I created just now. then you can start to protect the VM by click this protect VM. And then it will start to enable the replication. So this is the step how you actually enable replication using Windows Admin Center. So I have shown you both methods. Yeah. So once you have enabled the replication, then in the cloud there, what will happen? Okay, we come to the third step, manage recovery. Yeah. So we create a recovery plan. So key in something meaningful. So this is the, I key in something like ASR recovery, plan 1, and then create a source, the target, and then the virtual machine which you're going to recover will use the resource group, resource manager, not the classic. And then choose the VM which you're going to recover and click create. So basically, you have actually created the guide by step-by-step guided 1, 2, 3 step you have done already. Okay, now we go to the replicated item. You can see that my VM replicated and so healthy. But I never perform any test failover or failover before. So here you will say that never performed successfully. And from here you can see that the replication healthy is healthy, status protected, RPO, and then last replication got any issue or not, here it will show. Okay, so once you have this ready, then we can start to do test failover. Or you can do plan failover, or is a real failover. All these you can choose. But for this scenario, I will choose to use the test failover. How to do? Just click this test failover. Okay, so you specify from to, and then the virtual network. The virtual network you created earlier, right? You will actually needed at this stage. Okay, and one thing you can, before that, we have to specify this, right? Like what kind of the virtual machine, the type you're going to recover. So once everything confirmed, you run this test failover again. So just now I want to show you what kind of the virtual machine type I choose. Okay, then after that, you can see that it's starting test failover. And once completed, right? Once completed, you see this function will become gray out. And the status will show clean up test failover planning, because the only thing which you can do is to clean up the test failover. After you confirm everything, done already, the test failover successful, then you have to clean up the test failover. But of course, we haven't verified, right? So how to verify? We go to the virtual machine, okay? Go to the virtual machine. From there, I can see that, this is the virtual machine I actually test failover. And I click it, and then I go to the boot diagnostic. I can see that my virtual machine actually is recovered. Okay, so I'm not going to show you how to recover, how to connect in. So just to make sure that to prove you that, yeah, I can recover, can restore the VM. So after that, I go back to the replicated item and confirm that everything is recovered. Then I will start to do a cleanup test failover. So this cleanup test failover will help you to actually remove those virtual machines and those disk storage, right? So that you won't get charged after you do the test failover. Okay. And once completed, then you can see that it back to the normal. It's so healthy, and then you have the option to actually do the test failover again. Yeah. So this is how the entire Azure site recovery work, and everything is like guided. You are actually you won't miss out a step. Everything step by step it teach you, and then even you see I want to do the test failover, you also have the option for you to click, and once you click, the step is also very easy and very clear. So this is how Azure site recovery, the step you require to perform from A until the Z. Okay. Okay, something which I think worth to discuss is about the network planning sharing. Okay, so this network planning, right? Normally, when the time we we plan for the network at the disaster site, right? Disaster recovery site. You normally have a two scenario. One is whether you want to use back the same IP or use different IP. Use back same IP means that this IP will be exactly same as the production site. So the other one, use different IP, which means that the IP which you recover, the VM you recover, right? The IP will be different from the production. Okay, so why I said that this is what to actually share this idea, because a lot of time, as you know, you want to create a site-to-site VPN, right? So it's a must to use a different IP for the both different site. Site 1 and site 2, if you establish a site-to-site VPN, then both sides must have a different IP. But sometimes people will think that I want it to be easy. When the time I recover the VM, I want everything exactly the same. So if you want everything exactly the same, then you have to use back the same IP. But when the time you have to use back the same IP, you have to think that site-to-site VPN may not applicable to your environment already. Or maybe when the time you recover, you have to stop the site-to-site VPN. Something which you need to think about this one. But normally for my deployment, I will use back the same IP. Because use back the same IP will be easy, and it will actually ensure that the RPO, RTO, everything can meet the requirement, because we doesn't require any others vendors or those product principal to join in to do the recovery. So if you want to use back the same IP, the first thing you need to think is about the site-to-site VPN must break down or doesn't require site-to-site VPN. You can think to use the point-to-site VPN. Point-to-site VPN is something like SSL VPN, which is from the PC direct to the destination, not the entire site. That kind of the deployment will help you to achieve you can use back the same IP. Okay. Any question before I come to the second scenario? Okay.
No, so far okay.
No. So far okay, yeah. So let's take a look on this one. Azure site recovery, is it require a VM as a target in the cloud for replication purpose? Answer is no. At the initial time, it doesn't require any VM for the replication purpose. Unlike the on-premise Hyper-V. On-premise Hyper-V, when the time you want to do the VM replication, you replicate, you have a passive copy at the secondary site, right? But for the Azure site recovery, when the time you do the replication, it replicate to the vault, and that vault doesn't require any virtual machine. It's just the data. And when the time you need it to be in the disaster happen, right? Then only you convert those data to become the VM. So this is the strong point of Azure site recovery. Okay, so if no question, we come to the second scenario, which is from the physical server or VMware VM to the Azure. So we see the yes.
Can I interrupt you for 2 minutes?
Can, no problem.
Yeah. Let me just share something.
Yeah. So I come back to this one. You are sharing something?
Yep, I'm going to share my screen. Just give me a minute.
Can, no problem.
Just let me know when you can see the screen. Can all of you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Just wanted, this is like a advertisement if you want. Microsoft Build. Okay. Happening from tomorrow night. right? May 24th to 26th. I just registered, so you can still register. Some of these events normally like 1 week before all the seats will be taken already. But interestingly, this particular event, you can still register. Right, so the website, you can just do a search for Microsoft Build. Okay. The bits that I'm normally interested in for an event like this is not the development stuff, although Microsoft Build is known to be more focused for the developers, right? I'm actually looking for announcements and so forth. And if you register, then you'll be able to download content and so forth as well. But the timing of the sessions are not particularly good for us. Okay, I just had a look. I think the first session tomorrow is going to be 11 plus at night. So most likely I won't be able to attend anything, but by registering, you can download content. And so probably that's where I will look at recorded content and downloading of content. Okay, so just something for you to think about. For those of you who are interested to look at Microsoft technology. Okay, back to you, Chuan.
Thanks, Noel.
Welcome.
So let's take a look on this the architecture design for the physical to the Azure or VMware VM, also the same thing. So as what you can see here, this left-hand side is the on-premise side. This on-premise side, we have this is actually VMware or any physical machine. Okay, then this physical machine on top, this one is a physical machine, and this is the VMware. Yeah. And in order for this kind of infra to be replicated to the Azure site recovery, you require actually consider one because it combine. It require process and a configuration server, and this normally combine into one server. Of course, you can separate it out, but does not require. And this process and config server, I just found that actually the maximum supported OS is a 2019. 2022 is still not supported. And the resources you need minimum 8-core CPU and then the 16 GB RAM in order to install this process and configuration. And then this part, master target, is required when the time you do the feedback. The data in the cloud, right? You want to feed back to the on-prem infra. You need this master target. Okay, so these are the two. These are the something different compared to the Hyper-V. Like Hyper-V, just now I show you. You just require Hyper-V host. It can direct replicate the data to the Azure site recovery. But for the VMware and physical server, you need this component. This is the extra component. Okay. So let's take a look about the component. So for the Azure, you need a subscription and the Azure network. And for this process and configuration server is installed by default together with the configuration server. So the installer actually got one. When the time you install, then it will by default it combine together. Unless you feel that you want to spread it out, then only you choose the option. This master target, like I say, is by default together with the. Sorry, I think I didn't change it. Wait, where is it? This master target server is not together with the configuration server. So this is you have to install separately. Okay, even the installer also separately. And replicated server is either the physical server or the VMware VM. When the time you want to replicate, right, it requires this mobility service. And this mobility service is actually pushed from the cloud to this replicated server. Okay. Let's take a look how we actually do it. Okay, as what you can see here, I go to the recovery services form. I click this migration form. Then from here, I choose getting started, site recovery. Okay, just want to let you know that this is the a bit older version. It's not because I have not enough time to actually do this recording myself, so I just get the online one. But I just found that this, you see the interface a bit different from what I showed just now. So this is the not the latest. Okay, but anyway, almost similar. So it's also step-by-step guided. So I click prepare infrastructure. Okay, then here you have to choose like what's the source and where's the destination, and whether you have the your machine is virtualized. It will ask you, so that you will know that whether you are using VMware or you are using the physical server. Okay, then have you completed the deployment planning, like which I also showed just now, is for you to do to test the network bandwidth, the storage, and other requirement. So, okay, I will do it later. Then come to prepare the source. Okay, so it will ask you which one is your configuration server. So if you don't have, you have to click this configuration server. Okay, I click this configuration server, then it will show you step by step what you require. For example, you have to download this Microsoft Azure Site Recovery Unified Setup. Okay, and then download the vault registration key. So you require two installer, one installer with and another one is the registration key. So after that, you download, right? You copy the installer to the server. Like I show you, this is the 2016 server. Okay, maximum supported is 2019. After that, click next. Okay. Click next again. By the way, it will install this MySQL Community Edition. Okay, so the next step is to input the registration key. So this registration key, like I was saying, you will have to download from here. Okay, just fast forward a little bit. Okay, click next again. Then specify whether you have the proxy setting or no. So if no, just click next. Then you start to connect to the Azure, okay, to actually to start to register. After that, you will do the check whether these servers requirement meet those prerequisite requirement or not. Okay, so after that, you have to specify the MySQL root and the password for the MySQL database. Okay, and here is a step whether you are protecting VMware VM. So since this is physical, I click next. And then we have to specify the network interface. Okay. So this network interface, if that servers, the process server have a few interface, right? Then you have to specify the one which can connect to the Azure. So after that, click install. So it will actually install for you. And this installation roughly around 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, once done, you need to add an account. Then this account will be the domain admin account or something like your domain's registered account, which it will use to actually install the mobility service to the target machine. Like I say. Okay, so once done, we go back to the portal just now, and here you will see that you will have the option for you to choose the configuration server. You can see from here. Click OK. Then choose the target. Target is the cloud, of course. You have to choose the subscription and then the resource manager. Then click next again. Then we choose the replication policy. Okay. So if you don't have, you can create the one. replication policy. So this is something like the threshold in the minutes, the recovery point retention, which you want it to be. After that, just proceed. Then you will see that you have the option to choose the replication policy you created. Okay, then click OK. So you have already prepared the infrastructure. Okay, so the next thing is I will start to do the enable replication. So when the time you enable the replication, like say this step will actually find the target physical machine and it will push the mobility services to the target physical server. Now you choose the physical machine. Okay, and then it asks you this type. Okay, the cache storage account. And then the user account, which like I say, the domain admin, the one you install in the configuration server. Okay, so after done, click OK. Okay, so you choose the replication policy. Okay, then click OK. This is how you enable replication. So it's very straightforward also. It's guided step by step. You won't miss the every single step. So once you have enabled the replication, the next thing you can start to do the test failover. Okay, so as well you can see here, the replication health is healthy. It shows that healthy. Then we click the VM. Then yeah, you can see the infrastructure view at the bottom. Okay, now we can start to do the before that, like I say, you can specify what kind of the virtual machine you want it to be restored to, and then you can start to test failover. Okay, choose the recovery point, and then specify the virtual network. Okay, fast forward a little bit. Then the test failover is in progress. The process almost similar like the Hyper-V. Yeah? So once done, you go to the virtual machine, then you can see that the restored version of the virtual machine actually specified here. And then you can go to the boot diagnostic to prove that it's fully restored. There, you see that? Yeah, it's fully restored, right? Okay, so not going to show this version. We use the version to actually connect to the virtual machine. I just skip it. Okay, so after done, same thing. You go to the replicated item to clean up the test replication. Okay, clean out the test, test failover. Okay, so this is how the Azure Site Recovery work for the physical server. Any question? Let's take a look on this. If no question, we come to the quiz time. Okay, which one is not part of the component for the physical server to the Azure in the Azure Site Recovery solution? The A is a process server, B configuration server, C master target server, D is Azure AD Connect server. Answer is D. It doesn't require Azure AD Connect server. Azure AD Connect server is to sync the Active Directory information to the 365 or to the Azure Active Directory. So it's not part of the Azure Site Recovery. Okay, so in summary, today we actually covered these two scenarios: Hyper-V VM to the Azure Site Recovery, And also we cover physical server to the Azure site recovery. Okay. So next week, we will talk about this one, Vim. No, we will talk about Vim backup, Vim replication, and how Vim backup to the cloud. Okay. Question, feel free to ask. Okay, so if you don't have a question, maybe I think what I can suggest, you go and try this Azure site recovery, play it yourself, then you'll find that it's very interesting. Because I think every company also require to have the disaster recovery solution, and maybe you think that expensive, but with this Azure site recovery, I think you worth to invest. It won't be too expensive for you, and amazingly, you'll find that the price is actually quite reasonable. So even like you want to make it even more cheaper, you just take it up the disaster recovery or test failovers, then it will be even cheaper for you. Okay. Any question? No, Thank you, everyone. So
thanks, Chua, for the good sharing.
Yeah.
Perfect timing.
What time now? Oh, it's just nice.
That's
Very
nice.
good.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thanks everyone for
Thanks,
joining us. There's a feedback form in the chat window. Feel free to share some of the comments to Chua, and we are looking forward for his coming sharing next week on Vim backup. All right. Thank you very much. Thanks, Chua.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining us.
Okay.
Hey, thanks, Chua.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Chua, how is the server going?
Oh, the server. Tomorrow 2 p.m. only will